All right, here we go. Brand new Flyers Daily for the 2nd of April, 2024. Flyers Daily, as always, presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live as the Flyers fall in defeat in overtime against the New York Islanders. Final score of 4-3. They get a late goal, 9.6 seconds left to get it tied, to get the point and get into overtime, but ultimately end up losing it in overtime. On kind of a bouncing puck turnover that a puck just jumped on Morgan Frost. And I know some people may point the finger and go, Frost can't make that play. To me, that was just tired ice. Unfortunate, but it shouldn't have come down to that. I hated the second period of the game. I agree with the head coach, who you'll hear from in a couple of moments after the game, who also hated the second period. There was one element of it I loved. I agree with the coach there as well. And that was the first NHL action for Ivan Fedotov, who came in the second period, and I thought came in and played to his personality. More on that in a moment. But all said and done here now, the Flyers have lost 5 straight games, albeit 2 of those games in overtime. One of them was the overtime loss against the New York Rangers, which I didn't like. As you guys know, I was very critical of that game. Then you had the back-to-back losses, 4-1 to Montreal, 5-1 against Chicago, and then last night, the 4-3 loss in overtime. The first loss of the 5 straight was 4-1 against the Florida Panthers at Wells Fargo Center on that back-to-back with Boston that weekend, where they beat Boston on Saturday by a score of 3-2. And this is a situation. We're in the final stretch here of a playoff push. And the fact of the matter is they have not won any of their last 5 games. Yeah, they got 2 points because of 2 overtime losses. They've now lost 6 of their last 7, and they're leaking oil down the stretch. The 1 point last night puts them back into the 3rd spot in the Metropolitan Division, but that's fleeting. And that's fleeting because the team that they moved ahead of in the standings, that would be the Washington Capitals, who did not play last night. The Caps also have games in hand. Not 1, not 2, but 3 games in hand, and are only 1 point back of the Flyers. And really the kind of number that sticks out for me for this entire season so far is the fact that the team's minus 17 in goal differential right now. They were a team that was plus all year long. And we pointed to that on a couple of occasions, that's a very indicative stat about a team. And plus minus in goal differential. Right now, the Flyers minus 17, 2-5-3 in their last 10, and they've lost 5 straight games. Let's get to the particulars of the Islander game because there's a lot of different avenues of discussion here before we get to John Tortorella and his assessment of the game after, which is very blunt. Flyers outshoot the Islanders 33-27. They get out hit 36-27. Each team went on the power play 2 times in the game, and we did not see any special teams goals. Flyers did open the scoring 4:57 into the first. I think the Islanders thought that this was a hand pass and would be blown dead, but that was not the case as Noah Cates picks up the loose puck in the neutral zone, goes into the zone. It's kind of a 1v2 play and just kind of pulls the shot out with that left-handed shot and just ends up beating Semyon Varlamov high glove. It was a great shot. I don't think Varlamov was expecting it and certainly didn't look ready for it, but that put the Flyers up 1-0 early in the game. Under 5 minutes in, they're up 1-0, but then at 12:03, Matt Martin, the Islanders get a goal from an unlikely source. You can say the Flyers got a goal from an unlikely source when Cates picked up his 4th, but here Matt Martin picks up his 4th of the season. And at first blush, at first look of this goal, I really didn't like it for Sam Ersson. Then I see it was deflected. But the first thing that happens for a goaltender when his confidence is not high is the goalie finds a way to make himself smaller. Now, not in actual physical stature, but they play a little bit deeper in their net, and that makes you a little bit smaller to the shooter. Obviously, if I'm back here, I'm smaller than if I'm up here. So that's the same thought process in goaltending. And I thought Sam was a little deep in his net on that. And had he come out and taken a little more ice, the deflection matters less because you're bigger and it's got a better chance of hitting you. Doesn't happen. It ends up in 1-1's the score on Matt Martin's 4th of the season. And then just 18 seconds later at 12:21, Bo Horvat comes down the wing and is able to beat Sam Emerson, high blocker on the short side. And now all of a sudden it's a 2-1 lead for the Islanders. Jamie Drysdale drew back into the lineup. I thought he had a really good game with the exception of that play. I thought his gap was a little too tight on Horvat, and he got him spun around, allowed Horvat to get that shot off. But in that situation, on a clear-sighted shot from their short side, you still like Sam Emerson to be a little shaded to the short side because, again, that's the shortest distance from where the puck is to the back of the net. And I thought he gave up a little too much on the short side. Horvat picks up his 30th, 2-1 after one period of play. Flyers do kind of what they did in the Chicago game. They're down going into the second period, but they get a really early goal in the period. In the Chicago game, it was Tyson Forster who scored 19 seconds into the second period. And this game, it was Travis Sanheim who scored 43 seconds into the second period. Sanheim just kind of weaved his way up the ice. Tremendous skating. And then got into the zone. And I think the puck, I don't have a puck. Well, we can use this. We'll use a roll of black hockey tape. The puck laying like this, you usually shoot it, and it's flat. I think the puck rolled on edge like this onto his blade, and he almost flung it like a lacrosse shot. And it really fooled Varlamov. And it was a tremendous shot. And the Flyers get the game tied at 2 on Sanheim's 10th of the season. That's 2 Flyer goals, 2 unassisted Flyer goals, as a matter of fact. 2-2 game. But then at 17:54, when Ivan Fedotov is in the game for the entirety of the period and really playing well, but you see one of the differences, the key differences between a league like the KHL and the NHL. Quick turnover happens in the Flyer zone. It gets back to Romanov, who gets the puck to the net immediately. In the KHL, they would have passed that around 5 more times. In the NHL, they get that puck right back to the net, and Anders Lee is going there to put traffic around Ivan Fedotov and also to deflect it. Nothing Fedotov can do, and that puts the Islanders back up 3-2 in the game. Flyers get outshot in the second period, 16-3. And that second period stuck in the Flyers coach's crawl because it was not a good period. You'd think you get a little jump by putting Fedotov into the game, and he comes in and he's got to make 15 saves on 16 shots. First shot he faces as an NHLer is Matt Barzal on a breakaway, and he makes a glove save and gets the cover. He made several good saves. I thought his lateral movement was really sharp and really precise. Didn't overshoot plays, played within himself. I thought he played to his personality. I'll speak about that more in a second. Barzal shot, I said this on the radio, that the inner dialogue in Matt Barzal's head as he's coming down on that breakaway on Ivan Fedotov is, where the hell is the net? He is enormous. Flyers are in their white Stadium Series jerseys, and that makes him look even bigger. He doesn't need any help looking bigger. But Fedotov, just solid. I love the way he knocks pucks down behind the net and stops rims with that tremendous length. And then he's a good puck handler. A lot of these Russian goalies are really good puck handlers, and he looks like he's got a good handle on the puck as well. Matter of fact, on the PK, when I talk about him playing to his personality and just kind of doing what he's done at every other level or just being the goalie that he is, he gets out, knocks a puck down on a dump in on the Islander power play, and then just turns, comes around the net, and just fires it the length of the ice. That may seem like a little thing. I thought it was a big thing, and I loved it. And it just showed some moxie. And he fought the puck a little bit. Like some of the saves he made, weren't clean into his glove. There was a lot of saves that he kind of knocked the puck down and then covered it. I thought the communication was fine with his D, made good little simple plays to them and good simple passes. Maybe part of that is breaking into the new glove and wearing some new gear, fighting pucks a little bit, and not just having them come into the glove like they normally would. But Fedotov came in and really gave his team a chance. And had you not gotten the goaltending you got in that period, the Flyers could have been down 4-2, 5-2. He was really strong. And then he came back in the third, obviously. And Flyers in that third period eventually get it tied with Fedotov pulled when, with 9.6 seconds left, Morgan Frost just jamming away at a puck in front of Varlamov puts it in. Drysdale and Konechny pick up the assist, 3-3 the score. Flyers get it to overtime, which was important. And then in this overtime, they have the puck the entire time for except about 8 seconds. And unfortunately, in that 8 seconds, it ends up in the back of their net. They controlled the puck in the overtime. But the turnover happens as the puck kind of rolls on Morgan Frost over the blade of his stick in the middle of the ice in the D zone. And eventually Palmieri gets it one-time pass to Brock Nelson, who pounds it home. And the Islanders get the win 4-3, the final. Flyers get the point. But the second period was really kind of disturbing how they played. There wasn't enough compete. It was way too casual. As the head coach talked about it postgame, he called it soft. So let's hear from the Flyers head coach, John Tortorella, on his team's performance in total, that second period, and a little bit of pushback in the third period. Here's his comments after the game.
Seemed like after Sanheim scores that goal early in the second period, you guys had all the momentum, and then things kind of came to a stop. What was your assessment of where things sort of...
Soft. One guy played, the goalie.
How encouraging is it that he came in like that cold and was able to...
Terrific. He's the only guy that played.
Is that pretty surprising, considering you said, like, you trust your team, you don't have to tell them or remind them, and then they do that?
You're finding things out here, okay, when these games are at a whole different plane, okay? It's still regular season, right? But it's a whole different plane. So we're finding things out.
You talked after the last game about that was kind of what you felt like wasn't a great performance. Are you concerned at all that tonight it kind of lingered again, that you just said it was a soft game per se?
Not the whole game and not the whole group. There are certain people that they don't have a clue how to play or just don't have it in them to play in these type of situations. And this is why I'm glad we're playing them. I'm glad because we have to figure things out as far as what we're going to become as a team here. That was embarrassing in the second period for the Philadelphia Flyer uniform, the way we played. Embarrassing. High marks as far as how we came back in the third. Some guys.
With regards to Ivan, why did you make the decision to bring him in, and how impressed were you in his performance tonight?
I wanted to bring him in. It just didn't look right with Urs, and I'm totally impressed. I put him in a hell of a spot. And he's the only goddamn player that played in the second period.
Do you have any update on John Tortorella?
No.
You guys now have a couple days off before you start a back-to-back. Is that kind of what you were talking about over, some guys need some rest, or is that you just want?
Yeah, we can talk about that too. Rest, this, that, the other thing. If you don't have enough balls to play in these type of games, rest doesn't do us any good. Doesn't do us any good.
All right, there he is, Flyers head coach John Tortorella with his assessment of the team after the game, and I think he's dead on. They're just these games this time of year. We're in April now. This is why these games being really important at this time of year is a very good thing, because you find out a lot about guys. I don't know for certain who he's speaking about when he talks about some guys that were soft in the game. I have my suspicions because he didn't clarify it. I'm not going to say who I think it was. But that being said, you can't have that. You can't have that situation where guys aren't playing with the right intensity at this time of year. And if they're not, and it repeats itself, then you learn a lot about that individual player. So that's something that's good intel to have going forward. Now, the thing is you're in this playoff battle. Detroit won last night, by the way. So they grabbed 2 points. Detroit goes in and beats the Tampa Bay Lightning 4-2 on the road. And they grabbed the 2 points. Obviously, the Islanders grabbed 2 points. The Flyers grab a point. Washington was not in action. So what does this all mean in the standings? Well, with the 1 point, like I said earlier in the podcast, the Flyers move back ahead of Washington for the third spot in the Metro. But Washington is 3 games in hand. So let's be realistic about this. They're really not in the third place team. 83 points for the Flyers through 76 games, only 6 games remaining. Washington's got 82 points in 73 games. And then you look at the Detroit Red Wings, now 82 points, so 1 point back of the Flyers with a 1 game in hand. So things are tight. Things are really tight. The thing that's tough is that this team, they battled their ass off all year long to be in this situation. You hate to see it slip through their fingers. And we don't know now the situation for Sean Couturier. Because when the Islanders scored their second goal of the game, which was the Bo Horvat goal, Couturier got kind of hacked down into the corner and went into the boards very awkwardly. bit of a dangerous play, to be honest with you. It wasn't a penalty, and I was fine with that. But he went off the ice and up the tunnel immediately. He only played 3:21 in the game. In a game, mind you, where he came back into the lineup as the top line center. He was going to get a lot of minutes in this game. But he leaves the game there and did not return. I don't like the way he went off the ice where you're kind of crunked like this and you know it's shoulder and there's no pressure on it. You're just you're turned kind of crunked a little bit to one side to take pressure off it because the shoulder is in a lot of pain. Is it a separated shoulder, broken collarbone? Well, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I didn't examine Sean Couturier. But it didn't look good. So we'll see where that goes over the next day or so. But even though Couturier hasn't played a ton of minutes, they don't have a lot of good options if he is out for a game, let alone the remainder of the games, those 6 remaining games. So where does this go? Plus, I mean, you don't want to see a guy and then all of a sudden have to go through rehab again to get back next year and all that stuff. So I don't know. I don't know where it goes, but I'm hoping for the best with Sean Couturier and that he can get back. It's odd because he goes out with looks like a shoulder injury on a night when Jamie Drysdale returns from a shoulder injury. I thought Drysdale, like I said, other than that on that Horvat goal, the same play where Couturier got hurt, I thought he played well. I thought he had a pretty good game. I thought his skating looked good. He had 4 shots on goal. He played just under 21 minutes of ice time. Lessened the load a little bit for Cam York and Travis Sanheim. Sanheim played 25-43. York ended up playing 24-22. So all said and done, I thought Drysdale had a good return to the lineup. I thought Sealer, those two looked fresh. Konechny ended up with 5 shots on goal in the game. Nick Sealer ended up with 6 shots on goal in the game. The stat line for Drysdale is good, though. 4 shots on goal, an assist, 2 block shots, 20, 52, and 27 shifts. Played a minute 52 on the power play. You know, that's a good return for him. But they've got to play better. And coming away with just the 1 point last night and 1 point in the last 3 games since the gauntlet has put them in a position now where they got to go into Buffalo on Friday and they got to go into Columbus on Saturday, and they got to come out with back-to-back wins. You got to get 4 or 4 points. And then we'll see where things go with Montreal and the Rangers. We'll deal with them when we get there. But there's only 6 games remaining. And, you know, John Tortorella, you heard him in his press conference talking about the goalie change and why he did it. And he said he just didn't like the look of Erst tonight. I know what that look looks like. You see a goalie that makes himself small, that doesn't look confident, the body language. It all kind of tells you the way they move. All of those things kind of tell you. So, I mean, I think you go into Friday's game with Ivan Fedotov in that game. I was surprised that they started Harrison last night. I said on the podcast yesterday, I would have started Fedotov in this game. I talked to Bush before the game when we were having dinner, and he said he hasn't even practiced with the team yet. I'm like, I know. Like, the desperate times call for desperate measures. Maybe it's better that he came into a game without being able to thinking he wasn't going to play that game, and, hey, kid, you're in. I mean, he's not a kid. He's 27. So it was good to see him in there. And let me just say this. I'll wrap up on this point because I was talking about this on the radio. Ivan Fedotov, you know, watching it all felt a little surreal in the building when he comes in, and the fans were awesome. They cheered him when he was announced that he came in from the goalie change. They cheered him when he covered a puck, when he made a save, certainly when he stopped Barzell and many other saves. But I'm really happy for him for a couple of reasons. Number one, he's been waiting for this opportunity. I saw him at the first TV timeout when about 6 minutes into the second period, and he skated over to the bench, and he's kind of fixing the straps on his gloves and getting some water. And I saw him just kind of like look up and kind of take in the crowd. And after what he has been through, everything, this dream of playing in the NHL, it was so close and then it was so far away. And it didn't look like it was ever going to happen. I didn't think it would happen. And to see him out there playing it and getting that kind of adulation from an NHL crowd in Philadelphia, it was a really cool human interest story. Because we know what he went through. Well, we know kind of what he went through. We didn't go through it, so we don't know the details of it. but we can imagine it was very difficult. From the loss of his father to the detainment, everything. To see him out there was pretty damn surreal. And to see him out there making saves and doing what he does, damn, that was pretty cool. I know it came in a loss in overtime, but I thought the Flyer fans were awesome for him. He talked about it postgame. And I thought that this is the culmination of something that looked like it was right in front of him at one point until it wasn't. And then it was. And it was last night to play in the NHL. And he may be a big part of it the remainder of this year and going forward. I mean, I was impressed with his performance and the story, and I'm happy for him on a human level that he was able to get out there and play in the NHL. Because, damn it, he earned it. He worked his butt off. He may have been a late bloomer, but the NHL dream was realized for Ivan Fedotov last night. And for that, I'm happy for him. All right, let's wrap it up there. We'll be back tomorrow. Flyers won't be back in action until Friday. Ivan Fedotov will be our guest on Thursday's episode, by the way. I'm going to have a sit-down with the big fella, and I'm going to demand it that he sit down because my arms aren't long enough. Everybody, have a great Tuesday. We'll talk to you tomorrow on a brand new Flyers Daily.